Yeah, we did it. We made homemade pastrami. Now you can make your own pastrami sandwiches right at home.
In order to turn our brisket into pastrami, we first have to make the brine. We're gonna start with kosher salt, curing salt, sugar, pickling spice, whole coriander seeds. Ooh, that smells so good. This should be whole mustard seeds, but I don't have any and I'm not going to the store, so this is ground mustard. 4 cloves of garlic minced. Now I'm gonna add in 3 quarts of water, bring this up to boil on the stove, and then let it cool completely. Okay, we brought everything up to boil just to make sure that all of our seasonings dissolved. Now I'm gonna cool it down. It's way too hot to stick in the refrigerator right now, so I'm gonna let it come to room temperature. I'm gonna stick it in the fridge until it's super cool, then we're gonna stick our meat in. Okay, I'm making an executive decision and I'm not gonna cook this whole entire thing. We do not need this much pastrami. So I'm gonna cut this up and then I'll be back. We're gonna stick it in the brine. We've gotta prepare it. So I'm gonna trim all the fat so there's no more than like a 1/4 inch of fat around the entire thing. So I'll do that first before I cut it into the size that I actually want to work with. Ooh, that's gonna make some really good beef tallow. Okay, we just cut off a ton of fat. That's gonna make some really good beef tallow. Now I'm gonna cut this in half because I do not need to make this much pastrami. Here we go. Okay, I've got a super long bag. I thought I originally was going to do this entire thing, so our bag is a little large. That's okay. I'm gonna stick this guy in the bag, and then we're gonna cover it with the brine that we made. Although this is a vacuum sealed bag, we're not gonna actually vacuum seal it. We're just gonna seal it without doing the suction. This isn't smart. This isn't smart. It's going everywhere. We've got it everywhere. Okay, I've got my brisket and my cure in the bag. I'm gonna double bag it just in case. And then this bad boy is going in the fridge for 5 days. Every single day, I'm gonna flip it over to make sure the cure is working evenly.
Okay, I'm coming in for the voiceover. Over the course of 5 days, we flipped the brisket over every single day. And when I say we, I say me and my mom because I forced my mom to do it because I wasn't home. On the last day, you're gonna take the brisket out and you're gonna rinse off all of the cure. Once you get it rinsed, you're gonna pat it dry and then stick it back in the fridge for 24 hours. This is gonna form a crust that the seasoning is gonna stick to. Now, when a recipe tells you to use fresh cracked pepper, please do. It makes a huge difference. We're mixing that black pepper with a ton of coriander. I'm telling you, I've never used this much coriander in a recipe before in my life. We're also adding in some smoked paprika, and that's it for the crust. So what we're gonna do is obviously cover the entire outside of the meat with this seasoning mixture. I will let this sit for about 2 hours before I get ready to put it in the oven. I'll fill the bottom of a roasting pan with water and then stick the brisket on top on the rack. Cover everything with foil, and then you're gonna roast it until the internal temperature reaches 200 degrees. I know that sounds high, but pastrami is a different beast. I'm doing just the steam method in the oven, but if you want to look up the smoke thin steam method, you can kind of play with the temperatures a little bit. I will pull it and then let it rest in butcher paper. When it's done, feel free to use your meat slicer or just a super sharp knife. Sorry about the lighting here, you guys. I filmed this at like 10 p.m. Honestly, add this to the list of sandwich meat that you will no longer buy at the store. I know it's a little bit of a long process, but it's the best pastrami you'll ever have. Questions in the comments, please.